Welcome back to another episode of the Political Review with Camden Sanderson. Today we are going to be going over the 2016 election if Ted Cruz was the nominee instead of Donald Trump. If you were familiar with politics 8 years ago, you knew that there was a tough competitive primary for the Republicans between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump. Eventually, Donald Trump became the nominee. Ted Cruz gave a lukewarm endorsement before eventually becoming a staunch supporter of President Trump. Ted Cruz was the senator from Texas back then and now. And so this is a hypothetical election prediction map between Hillary Clinton, who was the Democratic nominee, and Ted Cruz, who was the Republican nominee. Once again, in this video, I'll also be using safe is 50. I'll use tilt color. I'll use a tilt rating, which is less than 1 point. I'll use lean, which is 1 to 5 points. I'll use likely, which is 5 to 15 points, and I will use safe, which is more than 15 points. So I'm going to fill out the states that would be safe for Ted Cruz, including Nebraska's 3rd, Nebraska's 1st, Nebraska at large, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. It voted for Mitt Romney by 6 points. It moved to the left by a lot, especially considering the nation moved to the right in 2016. The nation went right by 2 points, but Texas went left by 6 points. But I think a lot of that was because the suburban voters in Texas, even more so than other parts of the country, were very anti-Trump, and the rural voters, white people in rural areas, had already been maxed out in a way they hadn't been maxed out in the Rust Belt. And it's also his home state, so I think Ted Cruz would have been safe to carry that state. Actually, South Carolina was not safe at the time, but probably would have become safe. I think Ted Cruz would also be safe in Alaska. So these would be the states that are safe for Ted Cruz. Now the states that were safe for Hillary Clinton would be Washington, Oregon, California, definitely Hawaii, D.C., Maryland. Delaware is actually decided by 12 points, and it comes down to whether Trump's a better candidate or not, so I don't think that would have been safe. New Jersey and Connecticut were also not safe in 2016. Vermont would be safe. Maine's 1st congressional district would be safe. New York State would be safe. And I think that's about it. Illinois would also be safe. Now we're going to fill out the likely Republican states in this hypothetical electoral map. You start off with the Palmetto State, the state of South Carolina. It went to Romney by 10 points, and then it went to Trump by 14 points. I think Trump would have some Latino appeal, but that's just not prevalent in a state like South Carolina. I think he would do a little worse with working class voters than like Spartanburg. So overall, I think Ted Cruz would probably carry the state by a likely margin. In Georgia and the Sunbelt suburbs, since Ted Cruz ran more of an economically conservative platform than Donald Trump, where that's more popular in the suburbs, I think he would have been able to hold Romney's margins and probably do a little better after 8 years of Obama and a not well-liked candidate in Hillary Clinton. So I think Ted Cruz would have also carried Georgia by a likely margin, but a smaller one. Hillary Clinton's runway was from Virginia. I think Ted Cruz probably do a little better in Northern Virginia, but a little worse in the rurals. But we're still in likely Republican states. The other likely Republican states, Arizona, I think Ted Cruz would have the Latino appeal. Not as much as Trump, but at least not as much as Trump in 2016. That combined with the strong performance in suburban voters and Romney's 9-point margin. Romney also endorsed Cruz, by the way, so you probably would see a state like Arizona vote for Ted Cruz by a likely margin as opposed to the lean margin. I believe that about does it for the likely Republican states. Now we're going to move on to the likely Democratic states. We start off with the state of Connecticut. I just don't think the margin would be 15 points. Same for New Jersey. I still think the margin. I think Trump would, once again, these are very suburban states. Ted Cruz would probably do a little better in the suburbs, but a little worse in like working class cities such as Newark or Passaic in New Jersey's case, or New Haven and Hartford in Connecticut's case. So overall, he'd probably do a little better in both states, but he probably wouldn't follow it too much because he is the first Latino nominee for president. Then you go on to the state of Let's see if there's any other likely states on here. I believe Maine at large, Trump's appeal with white working class voters would not be as strong. And Hillary Clinton won Maine by 2 points. I think she would win by 5 or 6 points if he wasn't on the ballot. So I'm going to give the state of Maine to Hillary Clinton at large. I'm going to give it to her. I think same thing in Minnesota, kind of the Iron Range region. Ted Cruz would just not do as well as Donald Trump, so Hillary Clinton would probably win by maybe a likely margin, I feel. Actually, probably a lean margin now that I think of it, just because Romney won the state by about 9 points, I want to say, and no, Obama won the state by 7 points. I think it would shift over to the center enough for it to be a lean Hillary Clinton margin. But I want to do the lean Ted Cruz states first. I think Ted Cruz would narrowly win Nevada because he is Hispanic, and I just think he would have more appeal in the Las Vegas suburbs. I'm not sure why, I just think he would. As a candidate, I'm also going to give him the state of Iowa. Obama won that by about 5 points, I believe, in 2012. Yeah, so I give him the state of Iowa because people talk about often how Trump was a good candidate for the state of Iowa, but Ted Cruz actually won the Iowa caucus when the presidential race first started. So Obama won that state by 5 points. I think if the national popular vote shifted over to the right enough and Ted Cruz is winning there. Again, Ted Cruz ran a traditionally conservative message of lower taxes, lower government, but the state of Iowa, he won the Iowa caucus, so clearly had his own support in Iowa. But I just don't think he had the same support as someone like Donald Trump. Donald Trump kind of didn't take the state seriously. Now we move on to the state of New Hampshire. I think Hillary Clinton would narrowly win it. Another lean Republican state I have is North Carolina. Mitt Romney narrowly won it. I think Ted Cruz would win it by a little bit more, just because I think I think in this environment it would be like a R+1 national popular vote, because Ted Cruz would do a lot better among traditional Republicans at the expense of maybe some white working class voters. But overall, I think that combined with 8 years of a Democrat administration would mean that the popular vote overall is leaning Republican. Next, I'm going to give Ted Cruz the state of Florida by a lean margin. I think he would do a little better with Trump, with Hispanics, also the traditional Republicans in the state. Maybe a little worse in these rural areas that are ancestrally Democrat Southern, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that, against the whole white working class thing again, I think Ted Cruz would also win Florida. Trump won it by a point. Ted Cruz is winning the popular vote. He's probably winning Florida by a point or two. Another state I have to give Ted Cruz by a lean margin is the state of Ohio. Ohio voted for, the state of Ohio in the 2012 election, it voted for Barack Obama and Joe Biden by a 3-point margin. I think if the popular vote shifting over enough, I think you could see that sorry, I don't know why I said Bob Dole. You could see Ted Cruz carrying the state of Ohio if it shifts over enough. The state of Colorado, again, I think more traditional Republicans in the suburbs like Arapahoe County and Douglas County would be more on board with Ted Cruz than they might have otherwise been with Trump. So that in Colorado, combined with Obama winning the state by 5 in 2012 and Clinton actually winning by 4 in 2016, I feel like more libertarian-minded people have also been willing to vote for Ted Cruz, because Gary Johnson and Trump's vote share combined would have actually given the state to Trump, if you can believe it, even though the state was Biden plus 13.5. So Ted Cruz would narrowly win Colorado, and that puts him over the edge. He's now got enough electoral votes to be president. Let's go back to Hillary Clinton. I forgot to put Delaware as a likely Democratic state. I don't know if Ted Cruz or Donald Trump would do better there. You have multiple coalitions there, but without Obama as the vice presidential nominee, you kind of have the state be around D+12 in real life in 2016. So, yeah, but Ted Cruz has already got the electoral votes, but I think Ted Cruz would also narrowly carry Maine's 2nd congressional district. I believe in the 2012 election that Maine's Second congressional district vote for Obama by a sizable margin. Actually, I'd probably give that one to Hillary Clinton, just because Ted Cruz's rural appeal would not be the same, but by a very narrow margin, because she didn't have a lot of appeal with rural whites. Now I'm going to give another likely Hillary Clinton state is New Mexico. I should have also thrown that one out there. I think Ted Cruz would do better with the Hispanics in 2016, but I just think it would still probably be 6 points, I would say, for. Of course, Gary Johnson was from the state of New Mexico, so that spoiler would still be on the ballot. I think Hillary Clinton would still win the state by 6 points. Hillary Clinton ran with Virginia Senator Tim Kaine. I think Ted Cruz would do a little. I don't know if Ted Cruz's messages would really work well in the pro-establishment bureaucratic parts of Northern Virginia, but probably do a little worse in Western Virginia. Without that staunch turnout in Western Virginia, that was also seen in Eastern Kentucky and West Virginia. I actually think Hillary Clinton would have won the state of Virginia by maybe 5 or 6 points, as opposed to I think she actually won the state by 5 points, something like that, but I think it'd be about the same margin, actually. So, Ted Cruz already got the electoral votes to be president. Colorado was that tipping point state he needed. I don't think any other states. New Hampshire's got a lot of college-educated voters, but also a lot of non-college-educated whites. And Ted Cruz not doing as well with them, I think, would have meant Hillary Clinton would have won it by more than the tilt margin she did in 2016. So Hillary Clinton would probably win New Hampshire. Same logic goes in Pennsylvania. She barely lost it. She'd probably do a little better with working class whites than she did against Trump. And I would say the same in Michigan and Wisconsin. She'd probably win these states by a tilt margin, because maybe she'd win Michigan by a lean margin, because she lost the state by a tilt margin. So I think Ted Cruz would do a little worse in the Rust Belt, would do a little better in the Sun Belt with traditional Republicans, even getting him Colorado, which is what he needs to win a presidential victory. We also forgot Nebraska's second congressional district. Even with Trump's problems in the suburbs, he still won the district. So I'm going to give that to him by a lean margin. I think he would have won the district. I think that's what Romney won by. I don't think he'd really drop off. Trump won the district anyway. So here you have it. If we're not missing any votes, we have a narrow Ted Cruz victory. 274 votes for Ted Cruz, electoral votes for Ted Cruz, 264 electoral votes for Hillary Clinton. And that is the 2016 election results if Ted Cruz was the nominee instead. Thanks for watching my video, and I hope to see you again. So thanks for watching my video on the 2016 election if Ted Cruz was the Republican nominee, and I hope to see you in the next one.